back together again, Jerry Usher and Debbie Georgiani. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Debbie, I hope you had a fantastic weekend.
I had an amazing weekend, Jerry. I just want to share real quickly. I went to go hear Father Donald Calloway on Saturday night at St. Mary's in Chandler, Arizona. And wow, I can't even begin to tell you, an hour talk, and edge of my seat. It was all about the rosary, and how appropriate, because Tuesday's show, tomorrow's show, is how the rosary has changed your life. And I just have so much to share from Father Donald Calloway's talk. Amazing. How was your weekend?
Very good. I just got a lot of little things done, you know, how they just pile up on you and kind of fly around like little gnats. So I was able to swat some gnats this weekend, I think. But, you know, Debbie, here you and I, we're laughing, we're filled with joy, as we should be. Life has its ups and downs. It's not always a walk in the park, but we need to be joyful. We need to experience laughter, and that's the topic of today's show, and I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Well, you know, so many people have trouble with this concept or this idea of Jesus having a sense of humor. And it's funny, you just heard my New Jersey accent that comes out, because in New Jersey, we kind of drop the H's. So in Arizona, we say humor. In New Jersey, we would say humor. So there you go. But
right, you drop H's and add R's at the end of words.
Yes, and everything has an AW in the middle. But it's good. It's good. But, you know, laughter is, you just have to kind of think to yourself that if Jesus, we know that Jesus is all human and all divine. So with all the human qualities that Jesus would have, which would be joy and laughter and, you know, looking at things and seeing the humor in things. That's why this show, I think, is very important. It allows us to maybe grow closer to the understanding of who exactly God, who Jesus is. And that helps us to grow in our spiritual formation. So I think this is a perfect topic for today.
Well, John 11:35 says Jesus wept. It's always referred to as the shortest verse in the Bible, 2 short words. Jesus wept. Well, if he wept, he surely laughed as well. Jesus was fully human, just like divine and fully human. He had all of our emotions. So here are the things we want your takes on today, dear listeners. Are you a happy person? Are you filled with joy, at least most of the time? Is your joy easily taken away from you because of circumstances in life? We'd love to hear your take on that. Or you're wondering, you know, why should we take time to laugh? Maybe you're one of these really, really serious people and you just think, oh, well, you know, there's no place for laughter, you know, especially in terms of faith or Catholic things. I think Catholic humor is among the funniest stuff on the planet. Do you think Jesus would have shared a laugh with his disciples and other people? Give us your takes on laughter. Maybe being joyful and laughing has helped you, perhaps even physically, with your health. Because Debbie, they say that this is one of laughter is the best medicine. You know the old proverb. So 1-800-585-9396. 585-9396. You can email us, take2@EWTN.com, or send your tweets to at Take2Show. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And Debbie, we're just excited. We're thrilled to have with us a guest on the program today, Dan Reynolds. He's a professional cartoonist. Folks, if you've bought greeting cards, it's a huge likelihood that you have bought a greeting card that had a cartoon with one of Dan's cartoons on it. He's been a professional cartoonist for over 2 decades, and he's coordinator of new evangelization at Divine Mercy Parish. That's in Central Square, Brewerton, New York. His cartoons are distributed nationally by greeting card companies such as American Greetings, and Dan's work has also appeared in magazines including Reader's Digest, Harvard Business Review. He has 5 national books. He's a father, husband of 4, about to embark on the permanent diaconate program in his diocese. So there's so much more we could say, but Dan...
Oh, wait a minute. He's a cancer thriver.
Oh, that's right. Dan is a cancer thriver, like Debbie. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Hi, Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Good, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Dan has a presentation he calls the Divine Comedy, and you can learn about that at, I'll be transparent here, my company's website, thirdmillenniummedia.com. But Dan, let's talk about just first of all, well, I guess you and Debbie have in common that you're cancer thrivers, as she said. And I know I've interviewed you before, and you've really had your life turned around by that experience, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right, Jerry. I did. That was my come to Jesus moment. And I learned more about the importance of life when I was standing on the death. That gives you a great perspective, death does, and it teaches you a lot about life.
Dan, when you were going through your cancer struggle, did you rely? I know I did, so maybe this is a question that I answered. Did you lean on laughter? And because we know medically it helps with the feel good hormones and everything, and just helps the body heal. Was laughter a part of that, or did you learn that afterwards?
Laughter was a part of that beforehand, but I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the power in laughter until I became ill with cancer, and then I realized that humor helped me fight the tumor. And but it wasn't just about what it did for me, and helping me gain perspective and understanding of who I was. It also, and probably most importantly, gave me a better understanding of how I was in relation to other people. I was able, when I was, actually even when I was receiving infusion, which, as you know, is a very horrible experience to have to go through. But I remember the day that, or days that I used to wheel around with my little chemo bag, and I would go to other people who were receiving infusion chemotherapy, and I would give them my greeting cards, and I'll never forget all the times. Every time I gave it to them, they had such a look of joy and appreciation for that life moment. It was a moment of really joy.
Dan Reynolds is with us. He is an award-winning cartoonist, self-taught, actually. We're going to talk about that with Dan as well, how he became a cartoonist. His stuff is all over greeting cards. It's appeared on The Sopranos, on the Discovery Channel. It's even in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So, folks, you've got on the phone right here an opportunity to speak with someone about joy, about laughter, in life in general, especially in the spiritual life, who, as you just heard, has gone through his own period of darkness and emerged from that really a new man in a new place, and he travels around the country presenting the beauty of joy and laughter in the spiritual life. 1-800-585-9396. Maybe you've been through your own darkness or going through your own darkness right now. I've been at a place where I said, I will never smile again, Debbie. I will never laugh again. And God has brought me to a different place. So if you're in a dark place right now, let Dan give you some words of wisdom. 1-800-585-9396. Those of you on the line, we're going to get to you in just a couple minutes. Dan, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually took up cartooning, after you'd already been through whatever your education, you'd had a career started and so forth. You just kind of started doing that yourself and realized you had to.
This is part of the whole sense of humor, because I had never shown any artistic ability or knew that I had any until I was almost 30 years old. And then I kind of see this as a first gift that God gave me when I realized one day upon doodling that I had an ability and also an ability to create humor. I kind of consider myself not as a stand-up comedian, but more of a sit-down comedian. I'm usually sitting down when I'm drawing, and the humor comes to me that way. So, I had no professional experience, and one of the reasons I knew it was a gift from God was because when I would show people at the time my little cartoons, the reaction was amazing. And then from that point, when I first started drawing cartoons, in less than 2 years later, I had a number one nationally sold card in with recycled paper greetings.
Wow.
So I said, I must be onto something here. So I kept on following those humorous breadcrumbs, and it led me into a whole new profession. So I eventually worked my way out of my old job, and I took on cartooning full time.
Wow.
And it's been a wonderful blessing.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, Dan, I want you to just hold that because the phone lines are filling up, and that's a great sign. I know a lot of people want to ask you about humor and talk about Jesus having, a joyful spirit, and what does that mean? We're going to take a quick break. Please call in if you would like to be on the show today with Dan Reynolds at 1-800-585-9396. Stay with us. This is Terry and Debbie. We'll be right back.
I didn't take my faith seriously, which probably means I never really got it to begin with. No, I didn't want to give up sin. The reason we sin is because sin is fun. But it's self-love sin. But it's amazing with God's grace how easy trying to not sin it really is.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church for whatever reason, we invite you to take another look. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Think of all the media our young people are exposed to today. MTV, movies, what passes for entertainment on TV, song lyrics that are questionable or worse. Where do they hear the message that it's okay to be chaste and modest, or that it's not to practice their faith, or to believe in a God who loves them and can forgive them no matter what they do? Catholic Radio is the answer. Be sure to tell your friends and relatives about the positive programming that you hear here on Catholic Radio.
Does Jesus have a sense of humor? Should we? Should we laugh? Should we be joyful? I think it's an easy question to answer, but we want your takes on this. 1-800-585-9396. Maybe like our guest Dan Reynolds, you have seen the hand of God at work in your life, and it just kind of made you laugh, and you went, boy, Lord, you want to use me for that? You've really got a sense of humor. Or things turn out, Debbie, in ways that we just completely different than we realize and so much better than we had hoped. And we look back and we sort of laugh and we say, God, you are absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about, remember we did the show on St. Anthony, and I was sharing the story about how St. Anthony obviously has a sense of humor when he threw the credit card and hit me in the head. I mean, and he's, and he's in heaven, so there's got to be joy and laughter in heaven, and we know that from Psalms, even Psalms 2:4, I believe, right, Dan? That talks about having God having laughter in heaven.
Absolutely. God has laughter in heaven, and we're part of the kingdom, so we have it here too. We have to look for it, but it's right there. And when you hear a good joke, you wait for the punchline. You stand and you have to be patient. And it's the exact same way in our lives. We have to be aware. And as a cartoonist, as someone who develops humorous ideas, that's really what you have to do. You have to have a second sight. And what you do is you see past what is in front of you, and you see what's revealed to you. And with humor, that's what makes it most effective, that second look. And I think, today is in today's gospel, we hear Jesus talking about parables. I think it's important to remember that how did Jesus use parables? He used them to reveal a truth to us. And humor can also reveal a truth to us. Parables are stories in that people can remember, and they retell them. And truth, when they listen to the parables, they told in their hearts. These stories or parables took root in the heart, the minds, and the imagination of everyone who heard them. And it's just like that with humor.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we want to revisit that too, Dan, about parables, because I actually have a question. I've often thought how humorous sometimes when Jesus would speak and talk in parables, and you're absolutely correct. It reveals a deeper truth. But like even the parable about, what does it take to get into heaven? It's like a camel, going through the eye of a needle. I mean, it's almost hilarious when you look at when you think of the visual of that. So let's revisit that. But I know we have patiently waiting our calls on the line and our wonderful listeners, and I want to make sure that you can get in too as well, dear listener, 1-800-585-9396. But we're going to move to Cynthia right now, who's been waiting patiently, calling in from Morton, Texas. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and Dan.
Hi, thank you guys. Yes, I love you guys, and I started listening to you guys here a while back, and it's like y'all are like a good drug. Y'all are addictive. I'm serious. I don't even turn on the TV anymore, like forever, and I don't even miss it. I'd rather sit in here and listen to you guys. But anyway, let me make this short and sweet. To our cartoonist friend, I'd like to say thank you, because lots of times I like to stop by the cards and just read them, because I think, wow, thank goodness we have people like this that come up with good stuff, and sometimes it's just exactly what we want to say. But I wanted to share with everybody, all my brothers and sisters out there, about being funny. Me and my only sibling, sister, Sylvia, she's older, and we are like my dad. My dad passed away 2 years ago, and he was almost 80. But, oh, my gosh, you couldn't have met a funnier, most wonderful, sociable, sweet person like my dad will. And I am very blessed, and not to say anything negative about my mom, because I love her to death, but me and my sister, we got my dad's personality, his we can tell jokes. We're clowns at reunions, and we're always the life of the party. And I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging on us, but I am. And we got his blood, O positive. I'd like to brag on that part too, because if anybody knows anything about blood, O positive, that's a universal blood. Mm-hmm. And we can give it to anybody. We can give life to anybody. First of all, God, with the power of God, and then through our blood, we can give life to just about anybody. Anybody can use our blood. But my kids, I only have 2 kids, and it's funny because, and I laugh and I smile because they say, Mom, you can talk to anybody. You'll talk to anybody. You don't know that person. I mean, we can be across the world. I'm just giving y'all an example. And I love to talk to people. I can strike up a conversation with anybody, and I can make anybody smile. I love to make them laugh. Laughter is a good medicine. And I love that. And I think of my dad all the time, because I'm thankful to him that me and my sister, we got that from him. Because my mom, she's a very serious person. And we joke around about it, and I said, Mom, I'm glad we didn't get your seriousness. I'm glad we got Dad's, humor, because it's just awesome to make people laugh and smile. And one more little thing, a lot of you guys out there remember Lion King when it first came out. Maybe some of you younger folks like me, 40s, 50s, 60s, and your kids like to watch Lion King. Well, my daddy was always around us, and he got into Lion King with me and my 2 kids. They're 23 and 19 right now. And Daddy learned on Lion King that Hakuna Matata is be happy, no worries. So we were always joking around about that. And every time me and my sister were down about something or worried about something, he'd say, hey, Hakuna Matata.
Right. Yeah.
Cynthia,
and
you
now,
let me just jump in, Cynthia, because you've made some fantastic points here, and I really, Dan, she has said so many wonderful things here that I'd really love to have you just give you a chance to comment and interact with her a little bit, Dan.
Sure, Cynthia. Yeah, my blood is A positive, and I think that's because it's like getting 100 on a paper at school, in elementary school. I always tried to go for my blood type which was A positive. But anyway, yes, you have a great attitude, and it sounds to me, Cynthia, like you're looking for those things in life that bring a smile to your face. And, here's a good little thing to remember, even about a smile. How did God create a smile? When you smile, both ends of your mouth point to heaven. Mm-hmm. So there's a connection between smiles and why we do them, because it draws us up, it brings us, it reminds us where good humor comes from, and that's God.
That is beautiful.
Deb,
I
did
just
you have...
thought of that. I actually just smiled, and I just thought of that. You're really sending praises to heaven with that. I would just love to jump into, I'm not trying to copy any of you, but Cynthia and Dan, I share O positive as well. So I do. So, but I just wanted to really quickly, Cynthia, you can hear the joy in your sentences and your mannerisms and your emotion, and it's so beautiful. I think I would just say, please never lose that. I don't think you will. I think you are gonna always keep that with you for the rest of your life. But one other thing I just wanted to add before I forget, and before we let you move on with your day, Cynthia, if you could mind as to email us at take2@ewtn.com. If you could email us your comment that you shared when you first got on the phone about how you found that this is addictive to listen to, and it's just so beautiful, and it may inspire others, and we would love to use your testimony, but make sure you put you all in your writing, because I love the way you say y'all. I just love that from Texas. So how beautiful is that? Dan, let me just ask you what that Cynthia said. When you encounter family members, like she was sharing about her mom is more serious. I have family members that are more serious. Dan, how do we try to kind of win them over to the humorous side, or do we let them be? Maybe God created them just more serious.
Well, I think probably the seeds of my humor, before I even realized I had it. When I was very young, I remember relatives sitting around playing cards, and there was their house, and there was a lot of laughter going on. And that laughter, as you know, is infectious. It's like a yawn. When you see somebody yawning, you tend to yawn. And when you see someone, you tend to laugh, or at least put on a smile. So, humor is something that it's a gift that God gave us. And even the people who don't smile, that does not mean that they don't appreciate it. They might just need a little help, a little coaxing to get the humor out. I'm personally attracted to shy people because I know that behind that veil of shyness, there's probably somebody there who loves to laugh. It's just inviting them into the opportunity to do that.
Dan Reynolds is with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Cynthia, thank you for your call. We have the most amazing listeners and callers, and Cynthia, you just became one of those great callers to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. Want to know what your blood type is? I'm sorry. We want to know your take on humor and laughter in your life. 1-800-585-9396. St. Teresa of Avila said, Lord, deliver sour-faced saints. All right? Do you know people who are like that? And you maybe try to get them to laugh every now and then, and maybe with no luck. Maybe you yourself weren't much of a laughing person before, but perhaps you've been through something that gave you a new perspective on life. We'd love to hear that too. Whatever your take is on joy and laughter, 1-800-585-9396. We're going to talk more with Dan Reynolds too, because, folks, his cartoons are not all over the planet, but you will never find one that is vulgar or objectionable or anything. Dan is a devout Catholic Christian, father of 4, cancer thriver, and we're going to talk to him too about his application to be a permanent deacon in his diocese. So you've got access to a world-class, award-winning cartoonist. Give us a call, 800-585-9396.
Hear what others are saying about listening to EWTN radio.
I bought Sirius Radio because I travel a lot, and I saw they had 3 Christian stations and realized 2 of them were Catholic. Being a Protestant, I thought, oh boy, I appreciated what I've heard today and what I've learned.
I hope you'll keep listening to EWTN in particular and continue enjoying our programs.
I'm going to.
Listen daily to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Kathy Sinnott, and I'm host of EWTN's Celtic Connections. From our studios in Ireland, we take a Catholic look at the big stories breaking in Great Britain, in Ireland, and across Europe. Celtic Connections is the only Catholic news show made in the UK or Ireland. So join me every Saturday and Sunday on Celtic Connections.
For dates and times in your area, log on to EWTN.com.
Get an insider's look at the latest information from EWTN. Sign up for EWTN's weekly email newsletter. Get the latest information about live events, special features, and guests. Connect with EWTN on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Just go to EWTN.com and click on the Wings link to sign up. Don't miss a minute of all that's happening at EWTN. Get your wings today.
Friday. Come on and sit down at the EWTN Theology Roundtable with me, Elena Rodriguez, as we chat with host Colin Donovan and his guests about church teaching. You think going through life is like navigating rough waters? Well, try anchoring to the firm rock of the teachings of Christ, the calm in the storm. We tell you how and why right here on EWTN Theology Roundtable, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Back, friends, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Today's show, we have Dan Reynolds with us, Catholic cartoonist, and just an amazing person to talk to that we can learn so much from about this idea of humor and what it means for us as Catholic Christians. Should we be humorous? Should we be more serious? We want to hear your take, so call in at 1-800-585-9396. I know we want to move to Robin, who's calling in from North Carolina. Robin, you've been waiting so patiently. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And Dan. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm so inspired by Dan and his cartoonist. I mean, I wish I can really find something that I can find something that can bring me joy. I've tried to learn how to knit, but that didn't come out good. So
it wouldn't for me either, Robin.
I didn't do so good at that. But what I wanted to basically talk about is, I've been disabled since 2005, and I have a mental illness. I have schizoaffective disorder. And it kind of gets me down sometimes. I have my highs and my lows. And very depressed, severe depression. And I try to make the best out of it. I try my best. You know, there's no connection with people. No one knocks on my door. No one calls me. That's why I called you guys, because no one calls me. And I pick up the phone and call you guys. But anyway, I lost 3 babies. I had an abusive marriage, and that didn't work. And all my immediate family has died, and those that are alive, they're not in the Christian thing. You know, I try to be a witness, and so I'm praying for them, and so I kind of feel alone, you know, most of the time. And I'm on my computer now, and I'm just, you know, feeling like, you know, sometimes I feel like there's no hope, and then something comes up and I feel joy again, and then I go back into the down feeling, and I just want to know, what are the things that I can do to bring me some joy. I mean, I have joy in my heart. Don't get me wrong. I have some joy. As you hear it in my voice, I do have some joy. There's some joy there. But I was wondering, what is it that I can kind of meditate on or focus on? Dan, that was an excellent story about Dan and his cancer with the cartoonist. I mean, that is so amazing. I wish that I can just find something like that can bring me some kind of smile to my face, you know?
Well, Robin, let's see what Dan can share with you here. Dan, do you have some insights for Robin, perhaps?
Yes, I do. And again, when you go through something traumatic like cancer, and you kind of get a new perspective on who you are in relation to others. Jerry brought up St. Teresa of Avila. She obviously must have been a person of humor, a saint of humor, because one time she was traveling to one of her convents and she was knocked off of her donkey. And she fell into the mud and she injured her leg, and she said, "Lord, you couldn't have picked a worse time for this to happen. Why would you let this happen?" And the response came to her in prayer, and this is what she heard. She heard, that is how I treat my friends. To which St. Teresa said, and that is why you have so few of them. Now, it's a playful way of addressing God and assumes God's own playfulness. So we need to remember, Robin, that God is playful. He understands that there's going to be low times, but you, in your low times, you can become a prayer warrior. One of the apostolates we have here at my church is we go every Tuesday to a retired person's home, or I should say facility, and these are individuals who are very ill, and some of them may never be going home again. But what we offer them is the hope in our person. We just are there with them. Get out of ourselves when we start to focus on other people. We begin to forget about our own problems. And just as those people who are ill, they have a special closeness to God because of their suffering. You and your suffering, Robin, also have a special power of prayer, and you need to use that for other people. And the gift that you'll be given will come around as a result of that. So think about that. What can I do for other people? How can I make other people? How can I spend time with other people? The thing about laughter is it seems to just happen. You don't have to plan for it. You all know that when you go to visit relatives, you cannot have a conversation where at some point in the conversation, laughter starts to ensue. So just offer yourself.
Dan, that was so beautifully said, and I just wanted to share something when I was hearing Robin speak about how how disappointing it is that to people, friends around us, or to visit us, and I couldn't help but think of Jesus and how everybody wanted to be around him when he was performing miracles and teaching, and then all of a sudden they all turned their back on him, and he didn't have that loyalty and friendship in the end. But I want to just echo what you said, Dan, because Robin has two of the best friends right next to her forever that she could ever have, and that is Jesus and his mother, the Blessed Mother. And I mean she is totally surrounded by them, and I just find that, I mean, if you, Robin, if you can rely on that only, the expectations for people to give you the friendship that you may kind of desire or long for, it won't be there, because you have two of the best friends ever. And so I just wanted to add that. I think I learned that this weekend from Father Donald Calloway this weekend, so I'm kind of on fire from his talk. But
let me just give one little last thought for Robin. When you think of joy, I want you to think of this. Think of the letter J in joy for standing for Jesus. And what are the last two letters that are left? O-Y. Boy. Boy is Yiddish for woe. So we have Jesus and we have oy or woe. You add that together and then you get Christian joy. So part of being joyful is sometimes the woe part. So that doesn't exclude you from finding joy. You can find joy, and you can share it with others.
Is that helpful, Robin? Are you still with us there?
Yeah, I just want to say I have a neighbor next door that she's very sick. She's on dialysis, and I often go to her house to see how she's feeling, and she feels so good that she has somebody that checks on her to see how she's doing, and she's often having to go to dialysis quite often, and I always meet her in the morning because I get up early in the morning, and when I finish my prayer, I go downstairs and sit down and talk to her. She did tell me that she does not like Catholicism, and I want to reach her in that way, but I said maybe I need to step back not forward, but back a little bit on that. But she kind of made me feel a little bad about that, but I sit down in the lobby with her in our apartment building, and that makes her feel so good. And it makes her feel so good. And when I don't check up on her and I'm not feeling good, she's like, Robin, you didn't check on me today, and it makes me feel really good. So thanks, Dan, so much, and I really appreciate the information. I will apply it to my life to the best of my ability. And like you said, I have Jesus and Mary as my friends, and that's all I need. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Robin. Thank you for calling in.
I would offer also, if you would like to, Robin, visit my website, divinecomedydan.weebly.com. You might also find some other humorous and inspiring things to help you.
Robin for the call, 1-800-585-9366. Next up is Marie in Birmingham, Alabama. Marie, you're on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our guest, Dan Reynolds. How are you, Marie?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
We're doing okay, thanks.
Hi, Marie.
Well, I just wanted to say just a little thought. I was recently asked how I looked so young at my old age, and my answer just automatically came out. I just surprised myself. I said, well, I think it's from the smiles. The smiles hide my creases in my face. So, maybe smiling and laughing makes you younger. Look younger, even.
Well, Marie, actually, I think that is actually a medical fact. If you internet search it, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, maybe you know more about this, but Marie brings up a good point, because doesn't it take more muscles to frown than it does to smile, and it actually helps the muscles in the face? So I've actually read that, Dan.
It does. It takes, I think it was something like 43 as opposed to 20-something muscles. So it's more of an effort to frown. Now, of course, it doesn't include frowning and standing in your head. It does not count as a smile. So don't try that. That's cheating. But yes, I lost my train of thought there.
No, but smiling does actually make or can help you not age as quickly, I believe. And so, Marie, and you can hear it in your voice, just have a very uplifted spirit. I love that about Marie.
Yeah, that sounds great, Marie. You have a positive attitude, and what's funny about humor is that it is, as I said before, it's infectious. So other people like to be around people who show laughter, warmth. It puts other people at ease. Again, no doubt Jesus himself was humorous, was very easy to be around. Sometimes people who are like this, though, other people don't like that. They don't like the fact that somebody is joyful. So, of course, we know Jesus is also a good example of that. There was a lot of people who didn't like Jesus because of the way Jesus was. But we're called to be that way ourselves.
Marie, you had another quick comment there?
No, I was just going to say that I try not to talk about others or hear people talk about others, and I think that helps a person be happier, because the more you look at people as good people, the more happy you are, you know. And I wanted to say that to Robin that I will pray for her.
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah, I know
beautiful.
we've got great listeners. Thank you, Marie, for joining all the others who are going to pray. Robin, you got a lot of people praying for you.
A lot of
And,
friends.
Thanks for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, Marie. We appreciate it. Samuel in Canada, we're going to go right to you after a very short break. Just want to mention, I found online, I'm not endorsing, pro or negative WebMD, but I found an article actually quoting a study published in Psychology and Aging showed that when people looked at photos of happy faces, they guessed the age of the person in the photo as younger than in photos of the same person with a neutral or angry expression. So I think that that study, at least right there, and there are many others, definitely confirm what Marie was saying. But we're going to get to the break and more with our guest, Dan Reynolds. He is an award-winning Catholic cartoonist. Also, he is the coordinator of New Evangelization at Divine Mercy Parish in Central Square, Brewerton, New York. Again, his website is divinecomedydan.weebly, W-E-E-B-L-Y, divinecomedydan.weebly.com. Again, Samuel, hang on. Your call will lead off the rest of them when we come back. Stay with us on EWTN.
Washington, D.C., the first pope to address Congress. New York, a visit to the United Nations. Philadelphia, the world meeting of families. 3 cities, 3 landmark events. This September on EWTN Catholic Radio. Pope Francis in America. Will you be there? To find out more, stay tuned.
What's stopping you from becoming a Catholic?
Why can't women become priests?
I don't understand why I have to earn salvation.
How is it possible that God created everything?
Why do I need to confess my sins to a priest? Why is the Catholic Church so unwilling to? The Church is too rich.
Catholics worship Mary and are committed.
As far as I'm concerned, all religions are equal.
You are called to communion with Dr. David Anders. Today, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Thank you, friends, for staying with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We are so excited. Tomorrow's show is all about the Rosary and how praying the Rosary has changed your life. How has it changed your life? Have you incorporated the Rosary on a daily basis? Share with us on take2show.com or on Facebook or on Twitter. We want to hear. It's a great way for us to learn and grow together as Catholic Christians. But right now we are talking about humor. And did Jesus have a sense of humor? We want to also, share more about Dan Reynolds, our wonderful, accomplished Catholic cartoonist that's with us this entire hour. And believe it or not, this hour is almost done. So we want to rush to Samuel, who's calling in from Canada. We don't want you waiting any longer. Samuel, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and Dan Reynolds.
Well, thank you. Indeed, God bless you all. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our Lord Jesus, our Saviour, and our Mother for this wonderful opportunity to be able to talk on the radio.
Beautiful.
Amen. I'd like to bring up a point that the fact is about Catholicism. The fact is that, unfortunately, in Europe, especially Ireland and England, it has a semi-depressive sort of era that kind of really spun off other types of community to do humour. And in the 70s, there was quite a lot of humour coming from various different comedy camps that a lot of priests and other Catholics are actually watching at the, shock to do with a lot of folk around at that time. So it changed dramatically the way the church worked. In the 80s, early 80s, there started to be a great young portion of the church starting to play guitars and drums and bringing a lot of young excitement to the church, and that was too much for some of the old, more laughing group, and they kind of squashed that. And what happened was, the fact is that it kind of, every time you push something down, it comes back kind of stronger. Well, the popes changed, and so did the views. And I think now, as ever there was before, is a new revolution. And what happened during that time of Catholicism is quite actually a sadness, because the fact is people forgot about the joy and the love and the happiness and the strength that our Lord... I mean, God had a sense of humour. He let us live on earth. I mean, that's right there. That's funny. I mean, when you look at what we've done to this earth, and our God in heaven has what he's been watching us do. I mean, he's got a sense of humour. I mean, if ever there was one.
Samuel, I'm going to just jump in and let Dan comment. Dan, would you like to comment?
Absolutely, yes. We have, in my years, I now double nickels at 55. I've seen, from the days just after Vatican II to today, there seems to be a move, as Pope Francis wonderfully illustrates, towards this whole concept of joy and an understanding of the beauty of life and how we need to appreciate what we have, and we need to be a part of it, not just outside viewers of it. We need to actually participate.
Absolutely, Dan. And Samuel, thank you for that call and the contribution to our program. Of course, we mention, we should mention, I should say, Pope Francis, one of his earliest documents, the joy of the gospel. So I think it's fitting that we have this conversation today. Thanks again, Samuel, for that phone call. Dan, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left before we have to wrap up. Do you have a favorite cartoon that you've done? Especially maybe, I know you've done all kinds, but a favorite Catholic one? I know I've got a few of my favorites of yours, but do you have any?
Well, that's always the hardest question, Jerry, when somebody asks me. We have thousands of cartoons, but I can illustrate a few cartoons that are part of my Divine Comedy presentation, which I break into different sections, like, for instance, in my About the Bible section. Now, you're going to have to visualize this since we're on the radio. The Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz is pictured holding a Bible, meeting Dorothy on the Yellow Brick Road, and he explains to her, the reason I don't have a heart is because I gave it to Jesus. There's another cartoon from the same section that pictures two penguins, if you can imagine, reading Bibles while walking on the ice. And one says to the other, what am I missing here? We walk on water all the time. or one last one. There was another cartoon I did, and this particular cartoon, the words from it have been used on church signs all across the country, and which also appeared on one of my national greeting cards. It shows two people in a car reading a bumper sticker on the car in front of them. Honk if you love Jesus, text while driving if you'd like to meet him.
Oh, my goodness.
So this cartoon portion of my presentation uses cartoons from various categories of our faith, from Adam and Eve to Moses to the Trinity and everything else. Yes, believe it or not, we can learn about our faith through humor as well. So that's one of my main points that I try to convey during my Divine Comedy presentation, which I would love anyone out there who would love to have me come. I'm more than willing to come, and I'll do whatever it takes to make that a possibility.
You can find out more about that at divinecomedydan.weebly, WEEBLY, divinecomedydan.weebly.com. Or if it's easier, go to thirdmillenniummedia.com, click on the speakers page, because we give Dan a hand in getting some opportunities around the country. I was going to say, Dan, you tie our faith so beautifully into this, and a lot of our listeners will appreciate that. One of my favorites is looks like it's a pastoral council meeting, Dan. You've got this very long conference table. The pastor's at one end, and everybody else is sitting completely at the other end. And the pastor is saying, well, I think we need to discuss how to get people to sit closer to the front of the church during Mass. And then at the meeting, they're all sitting.
Jerry, I have to share something with you, and this is what I call a God incident. This is no lie. This was not prepared ahead of time. I am literally sitting here talking about right now.
All right, is that right?
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
Yes, I am. Yes, sir.
Dan, I just want to say, when I was adult formation director at the parish in Mesa, Arizona, I would have loved to have had book you for that Divine Comedy. I think it would have been just amazing and a great formation for the people of my parish. So I do encourage anyone listening right now who has an ability to influence the parish, have Dan Reynolds come out. He is amazing. And I said you can go to real easily to thirdmillenniummedia.com and schedule Dan and talk to Nick. Nick is great to work with, and you will just love Dan Reynolds. Dan, this has been such a treat. We calls today. I was so wonderful to also hear from Samuel in Canada. Canada's listening, Dan. Now listening and hearing your beautiful and wonderful cartoons. I know it's put a smile on my face today, and I love humor, and this was a perfect topic for today.
Wonderful. And it's a good topic for tomorrow and the day after, too.
Absolutely. Dan, can you take about 30 seconds? I'm sorry, that's all we have, but you're going to be in the maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I know, is it final yet, your approval for the diaconate program, or is that?
Actually, it's been like a 3-year process. I've had to do all kinds of things to get to this point, but thank you for asking, Jerry. I actually have one last hurdle, and that's my psychological test. Now, once they find out I'm a cartoonist, I don't know how that's going to go.
Hide your stuff, Dan.
Yeah, the ink blot test, that's going to be a tough one, Jerry.
Yeah, the Rorschach, that ought to be really funny.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Dan, thank you. We got to get out of here. DivineComedyDan.weebly.com or thirdmillenniummedia.com. Debbie, my takeaway is very simple. Joy and laughter are important. They are gifts and graces from God. We've got to use them when we can. There are going to be low points in life too, but let's laugh when we have the opportunity.
I couldn't even add a single ounce to that, Jerry, and I feel the same way. Humor is just, God wants us to have joy. Jesus talked about giving us joy and having it to the full. So have a beautiful, humorous, blessed day. Tomorrow is all about the rosary, so bring your rosaries to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We will see you tomorrow. God bless you.